Dana, what's going on?
Not much. Just hopefully engaging with our loyal listeners in another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys. Do you have your coffee?
You know what? I don't know if I could function with what I can function without it, but I really like the taste of it. So bottoms up.
There you
I
go. I'm
what
drinking bubbly bounce caffeinated. I didn't even know it was caffeinated because that's a problem because I'm trying to avoid caffeine. Caffeinated sparkling water.
you're gonna kick in the
Mango passion fruit.
caffeine. You're gonna kick in the high gear halfway through this episode.
Right. That's weird. I bought it and grabbed it without even looking because I've never seen caffeinated
No,
sparkling water
it
before.
was it was the Folger switch.
It's got apparently 35 milligrams of caffeine.
That sounds dangerous.
Zero
I
calories though, so we're all right.
Oh, you're set. That's fine. So not only are there 0 calories, but all your jittering will burn off whatever caffeine you ingest.
Right. There we go. It's a win. Hey, did you get anything new?
I did. So there's about between you and I, there's about 5 Walmarts,
It's true.
amongst
It's
us,
true.
and
And 17 McDonald's.
yeah, that's that you're skewing kind of low there. You're being very generous. But I've been just kind of running the rounds and looking for stuff, and there's a certain anti He-Man guy who would be very excited to see that like most Walmarts just had nothing, no He-Man, no Ninja Turtle crossovers, like not a whole lot of anything. But I did strike gold at one of them, actually restocked
I love
some.
having a golden Walmart experience.
I mean, golden in that nobody had anything else. So like, I guess in like in a desert, a drop of water is just
Right.
mana from heaven.
Even
But
even golden by default is still golden.
yeah, still kind of golden. So this one nearby actually they had Krang's.
Oh, no way. Which one?
The one
Which
on Middle Country.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Sunday if we get a chance Sunday, if you're up for it, we can swing by, and because they actually had a pretty decent stock of them, and I have the one, but I've never seen them out in the wild, so this is the first one I've seen in the wild, and now I can
Right.
see
It's
if
more fun when you get to catch them.
yeah, you gotta catch them all, like all of them,
Like
every
like
region,
you can
even
go buy a pet rabbit, but it's more
just
fun to go try and catch one, right?
catch them out in the wild, go to all the regions, challenge all the gym leaders. But I also found what was kind of interesting. The Ram Man from this series, I didn't know until recently that. So you remember how when they first started showing off He Man, he looked like he was clear purple, but
Right, and he
he's
wasn't.
very
It was
much
a
not.
fake. It was a
Yeah,
faker.
and Ram Man was the same way, which was also kind of disappointing. But there is a clear Ram Man. I don't know if it comes through on
You see a
the
little bit in
video,
the
but
arms. It's
so
that is
I don't.
clearly Ram Man.
Yes, I don't know exactly when these started popping up, but I started seeing posts of people saying, "Hey, there's an actual clear Ram Man out there." And just a fun fact: the back of the original Ram Man had a sticker over his picture back here. I think it was a graphic design decision because it was cut off on the version that I had that's opaque. This one, it's
Huh.
just printed correctly. So I'm
Oh, so you think the picture depicted him as being translucent and they corrected?
No, it was strictly a design thing. The other version of this, he's a little bit further to the side so that his axe is cut off by the edge of the packaging.
Oh,
So
I see.
instead of going through the whole process of reprinting the entire card, they just printed a sticker. So every single I want to say every single opaque Ram Man, which might be the international version, has a sticker on it. But you can peel the sticker off and you can see the original picture, which is not very different. He's holding the weapon in a different
Just
hand. It's just
ill
it's cut
placed.
off. So that's just a minor like super rabbit hole nerdy thing on my part. But this is a clear Ram Man, which is kind of cool. But I also kind of wonder if this is a running change, like Beast Man, like those brown Beast Mans
Right, yeah.
that are
And
out in the wild.
are we gonna get a translucent He-Man?
I really hope so. That would be awesome because I still wish he was bigger, but him being kind of clear-ish, that wouldn't be too bad. Picked up just an extra She-Ra for potential custom purposes.
Right. You can never have too many She-Ra running around.
And we got
It's
to keep the
bothering me that
streak.
I'm not centered on the screen. Here we go. Now I'm centered.
And we got to keep the streak alive because I got another package. This
A mystery box. Play
I
music that we'll
I
talk about and never put in.
see. I'm cheating my own segment because I actually know what's in this one because I'm super duper excited for
Oh,
it.
no fun. You should
I
put
know.
like again, we
It's
need like some sort of magic box moment, like the music when the trolley goes to the land of make believe or something. We need something.
we need some decent royalty free music that I can play over this. So
Yes.
these are exactly what I thought they were. So I imagine if you're watching this show, you're probably familiar with the Four Horsemen doing their Figura Obscura
Yes.
releases just randomly, and
Oh,
they did
those
one.
look so great.
Yeah, they did. They did a drop while we were at CradleCon. Of course, they waited
Right.
for us. Thanks a
Of
lot, guys.
course.
Thanks for dropping it and making me forget to pick these up during CradleCon. But I wish these were. Hold on, let me see if I can open these real quick. But these were exactly the kind of Figura Obscura that I was waiting for and hoping that they would do something animal based, something sort of anthro. Oh my lord, these
And
are
Obscura.
and Obscura. So they did Anubis and Bast, and
Right. You go
they
to back it
are
up from the camera a little bit, you're getting a glare.
oh,
Oh,
you're
there
getting
you
too
go.
much of a
That's
glare.
perfect. That's perfect.
They
What you
are
just said. Yep.
they're fantastic. They're so good. These are so good. And there was apparently enough demand that they did the weekend sale. They had them
Mhm.
up Saturday. They released them at 2 different time slots. And I guess there was such a like an outcry for give us more of these that they dipped into the stock that they were going to use for Legion's Con and put
Oh,
those up yesterday. So I was close to buying a second because these are so good. They're so
those
good.
are cool.
But on the upside, they come with, or what Bass comes with three additional heads. Two with a headdress, two without. Anubis, I think, comes with two extra heads. So even though I kind of want more of them, but I'm really in it for like the animal heads that I can then take and put on other figures. So
Right.
now it's just I can look through a bunch of my Mythic Legions and decide who else gets to be Anubis and who else gets to be Bast. But
Nice.
man, those are so good. Keep it
Yeah,
up,
those are cool.
Horseman.
That's a good investment.
So, what have you gotten?
Well, after CradleCon the other day, we went to the cool Toys R Us inside of the Macy's at
That
the
is
Roosevelt
the
Field Mall,
best.
which is actually, like half a floor, and they actually get new stuff
That's
compared to
right.
our,
Right, got
you know,
Zabu.
I
I
see him in the background. Who's standing
could
next to him?
could not believe one
I
of the
see Black Panther and the
oh
Dungeons and
so
Dragons cat. Who's standing next to Zabu?
one of the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom characters. I have forgotten his
Oh,
name,
that makes sense.
but I wanted to kind of pair him up. And this is the first time I've opened that Displacer piece. He is also amazing.
He
Like
looks good.
you
I have to
open
get
up
one
the
of those.
package. He's so good. Everyone, go to Hasbro Pulse right now. Go to the outlet section. They're on like crazy sale, and I might get more because was I like was taken aback by how cool and how large the Displacer Beast is.
Yeah, it
They're
looks
worth
good.
every penny.
Well, at that cool Toys R Us, I got the McFarlane Plastic Man Build-A-Figure line.
Ah, looks so good, man.
It
That one,
is. It does look good. It's
that,
almost like I've always wanted to see a plastic when we used to cast movies, my brothers and I, and we casted the original G.I. Joe movie, which would have been far superior to the one that was released. But um,
you didn't immediately
we
cast everyone as the Rock, even the women.
right exactly. But everybody would have wanted to see a Plastic Man movie
Mhm.
starring Jim Carrey as Plastic Man.
I don't
But
like Jim Carrey,
oh, me
but
neither,
I
but he
get
would have
it.
been
I
good as
totally get
Plastic
it.
Man.
He
Yeah, I
absolutely
mean,
would have been cast as Plastic
that's a
Man.
Jim Carrey face right there.
Him or
But
Paul
I
Rudd.
I would have wanted it to be done because he's Plastic Man, so it's got to have a comedy element, right?
Mhm.
But I would have and this figure is a great because McFarlane's pretty good at this. There's a little bit of as cool as this figure is. Plastic Man has always been a little horrific to me.
Mhm.
Like, even his creepy hand
I like that
looks
it's
very
bent.
alien.
I like that it's bent around. Or I'm
Yeah,
sorry, the right hand. I like that the right hand is
yeah,
bent around to form its own lasso. That's
right.
funny.
That's cool. But this hand looks very alien, sort of
It is a little
X-File-y.
disturbing, yeah.
Yeah, like, and he's always been a little horrific to me, and I love this figure because, and you know me, I'm not a big fan of a multitude of extra body parts,
Mhm,
but it comes with the regular head,
mhm.
which has a weird looking bulbous neck without the thing there. Um, but when you buy a Plastic Man figure, historically, he's either just a normal dude, right? He's
Mhm,
just Plastic Man in his little onesie, which, by the way,
mhm.
they gave him quite the glutes.
Hey
Um,
man,
yeah,
he wanted to rival
I mean,
Nightwing.
if you can make your body look any
Huh,
way you want, right? um,
why would you not cake it out?
but I like because historically he's either so distorted that you can't do anything with him, especially the one that remember the one that had the rubber arms, had the
Yep,
big hand and the hand and
yeah.
his arms were just or but this one you could do either. You can have them all stretchy,
Mhm.
or you could do the regular arms
Yeah, see
and the regular head,
that's
or
the
you can
perfect
mix
middle
and
ground.
match.
That's the
You can mix and
perfect
match.
middle ground. Give us a just a standard figure, but then give us some wild options.
The cool things like just the little details like in his sunglasses.
Yeah, I
It's
like
not
that.
just faded, it's the little squares like in the original animated
Mhm.
show, right?
I like that because everything on him is technically plastic, that even the glasses, which should be a solid piece, are not. So they are also expressive.
Right,
That is very
yes,
cool.
exactly. And this is one instance where because Plastic Man is so goofy, and even in the comics, like, he's so powerful, but he's not respected for his
Mhm.
power.
Yeah.
They did a really good job in the Injustice storyline of exemplifying that. But I
Mhm.
wouldn't have minded getting a baby Plaz
Oh, that would have been really cool.
with Plastic. I wouldn't
With a
have
couple of
minded.
stretchy limbs,
Yeah, yeah.
that would have been really cool.
I would have been excited to get Baby Plaz
I
from the
remember
cartoon.
I remember when I was younger was being kind of surprised that Plastic Man got his own cartoon before so many other DC characters. Like he's
Right.
fun, and I guess maybe that's why like, he's
What?
just a
Yeah, because
fun
he could be
character.
goofy and kid friendly, but I remember it
But
was if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I remember it was like there would be a Plastic Man short and then
yes,
Captain Caveman, wasn't it?
yes,
Like
yep.
yeah,
It'd be Captain
so how
Cave.
could you lose?
Yeah, it'd be like Captain Caveman. Oh, I don't remember the name of
And
the.
Son. They did the and
Oh,
Son
that's
for
right,
Captain
the
Caveman
and
too.
Son because it was Plastic Man and Son. And then
Yeah.
there's a couple other ones like the Vampire Dog. There was a group that were based on the Universal monsters that went off and had goofy adventures.
Right.
Uh,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I remember they would cut back to Plastic Man in sort of like a live action ish kind of thing, and every now and then they would do
Right.
something weird, like he'd be there, but he'd be in the shape of a tire, and he'd be like, "Wow,
Yeah.
after watching all those cartoons, I sure am tired," and they
Yeah. Made
cut
some
away.
corny dad joke. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
I liked it.
if you enjoyed that Plastic Man, get ready because McFarlane just recently picked up the Marvel license as well, so you may see that
I
repainted into Mister
saw that.
Fantastic.
I think though that I don't think they're articulated, aren't they? I saw the article
He's
this morning and I saved it,
he's
but I haven't
released
read it yet.
he's released statues. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it's exclusive to just statues or if he'll be doing 7-inch scale action figures from Marvel.
Well, that would be something, huh?
His new Dark Side
Just
actually
another
looks
expensive line that I won't be able to buy.
only if Marvel makes someone too small. And I'll be like, well, I'll just wait for the McFarlane one to come out and then he'll be the proper scale.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Tom, it's our long weekend. We get a break this weekend because of Memorial Day. So I thought perhaps we should, in honor of that, talk about military toys.
Oh, good topic. I'm going to forget that we had Monday off until Sunday night because I don't generally get days off from my from my
Right.
job. This is like one of maybe like 5 times during the year. So
Right.
this all right. It's a good topic. And I guess as a
I remembered and I was like, I got yard work to do, but I could do it on Monday. But now it's supposed to rain on Monday, so I have to do the yard work
yep.
today
Now
anyway.
you
So
have to do it today.
now I
You don't
have
get a
to do
choice.
it today. So yeah, everybody I would imagine across the known universe, first military toy was the little green, like there were the old stuff like the
Yep.
metal, like Tinker Toys and stuff
Mhm.
like that from like my father's age. Um, but the little 2-inch army men,
Little green army men.
guarantee
Uh,
was everybody's
yeah, everyone had them.
first.
They were really cheap. They were in every single store in
Yeah.
existence. You could go
Go
out
to
for you could go to this.
Burger Tin or something, Burger Toys and Novelties or something. I
Yeah,
can't remember the name. Yeah.
you could go out for anywhere, anything from you could go out for milk, books, gas, like any place that you went had a
Yep.
little bag of army men, green army men for what, like 20 cents,
Right. They
50
were
cents
cheap.
get 50 cents gets you a bag of them, just the same ones over and over. I As the years went on, I didn't compare them side by side, but you had your typical guy getting ready to throw the grenade. You had your
Yeah. The
gunner. You had
bazooka.
yeah, the bazooka guy, the guy on the giant walkie-talkie giving the
Oh,
directions.
yeah, it's Chinese. Like,
You had the one
he's
that
like,
the
I'm
one that
getting
could.
DoorDash. What do you want?
What do you guys want?
And the fact that they still looked like World War II. Like the
Mhm.
World War II look is
Yeah.
still like when you see, you know, military tribute shirts and things like that, that whole Greatest Generation thing. Like
Mhm.
World War II is like the iconic look
Yeah,
of
I
army
think.
soldiers. They look much different now. A human soldier looks much different now than he did in World
Yeah.
War II. But that's
Yeah,
kind of that iconic look.
I think like you said, because they that's kind of your go-to for shirts, paraphernalia, and any sort of flashback in a show or whatever. You get that almost like Saving Private Ryan style, uh, the kind of clunky throwback to that specific look. Like if you want people to know it's a military look, you're going for that style, and everyone will know immediately right off the bat what you're going for. And it's green. It's got to be military
Yeah.
green.
Remember when they turned tan? It was another thing I was gonna say, but
I
remember when
remember
you
that.
found the tan ones and you're like,
Yep.
whoa, 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 whoa,
Whoa,
whoa, wait a
whoa,
minute.
relax, relax, guys. What are we doing here?
This is
I
just
mean,
this can't happen.
I,
But it's thinking like that whole like idea of those little army men was when they were made of metal and at one point silver
mhm, yeah,
because people would use them at the military
mhm,
strategists would use them on the board,
mhm.
to plan their battles.
And they're like,
So
"Where's the gunner, Johnson? Give me the gunner."
and then, the United States is like, maybe we shouldn't make toys out of lead anymore. Let's
Probably not a good plan.
let's move into plastic.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
they're just so
It'll be
delicious.
fun.
You gotta chew them all.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, they started then after a while, like after World War II, then they introduced the play sets for those little army guys.
Yes,
They had
I
battle, like remember you'd get the plastic sheet.
yep. Because you were now the army general. You could set up like
Right. It was
where your troops
exactly the
were.
same thing. Right.
You could figure out where the opposing team was going to be. I had this cool little. It was a box. It almost looked like a little lunch box, and it had a little lock mechanism, and you would turn it, and then the whole thing would fold out. But I remember it had like the printed. There was like a shore. There was a printed area for like a sandy beach, and then the main section of it was this kind of thin plastic, almost like a bunker. So you could put your little military guys inside this bunker, and they could
Yeah.
hole up. But then you also could put your invading forces or your oncoming forces on the other side and have this little war. But it was a cool little and I guess that
Yeah.
was part of the appeal of the original just tiny military men. These were things you could just put in a kid. You could put in a kid because they would have put them in a kid's hand. You put them in a kid's
Right.
hand. They stick them in their pocket. You go to your aunt and uncle's, and after she gets done kissing you, then you can run away and go play with your military toys.
Yeah, and then
That never
I
went
remember
away.
the plastic sheet that you could fold up and stick in your
Mhm.
pocket and go to your buddy's house. But then
Yeah.
you'd have like a thin plastic foxhole
Mhm.
that you could stick there and stick your guy with the bazooka behind it and stuff like that. And then
Do you remember
they
the?
did go
I
ahead.
don't think they ever make vehicles specific to. I don't think they did, but I remember there being
No.
vehicles that you could then like a tank, and you could just kind of toss the guy in there, and
Yeah, they were
he would
usually off
stay up. But
scale. Yeah,
yeah,
they'd sit on it and ride
yeah.
on it instead of in it. Yeah.
So you could pretend that they found some sort of super tank and fought over that.
In the 60s, they finally made bad guys
Oh, did
for the
they?
army men. Yeah, and they made German soldiers,
Mhm.
of course,
Yeah.
because it was still had that World War II model. So
Mhm.
they made German soldiers, which were molded in gray plastic,
Oh, that's interesting.
and they did a set like an Iwo Jima set,
Mhm.
and they had Japanese soldiers, but guess what color they were molded in?
Oh, no. Surprise, surprise. It was that time. It
It
was
was they were yellow. They
yeah,
they were
of
yellow.
course they were. Of course they were.
Yeah, it was that time. So yeah, Germans were gray and the Japanese were yellow. So we had those when we were kids, um uh, and they were like everybody. But if they made dinosaurs of that same ilk that fit them, in size. 'Cause remember when the big army men came out? They were bigger. The originals were like two
I
inches. Do you remember when they did like 3 inches? And you're like, no, you're
I
ruining the whole thing again. First you give me
I
10, and now you give me big ones, and they just don't fit.
I don't remember the larger ones. I only remember the 2-inch small
Yeah,
ones.
they were short life. They weren't as ubiquitous as
Did
the small ones, but they did make bigger ones. Same molds, but they were
did
bigger
you
and just not
did
fun.
you try to customize any of your military army men?
If by customize you mean set on fire, yes.
That absolutely was
I did.
happening. I
Right, we had this phase when we were younger. One, we'd get in trouble because we had the floorboard
Mhm.
radiators, right? But the thing about those is that if you put crayons on them,
Mhm.
it got really pretty as they melted down. Dad didn't like that. And then my younger brother and I discovered that if you light a McDonald's straw
Mhm,
or those green military men on fire, and then
mhm.
you hold them in the air and the plastic falls,
Uh-huh.
not only is it a ball of fire
Mhm.
falling, but it makes a noise.
Huh.
It like the plastic whistles
Mhm.
as the drop of molten plastic falls onto the rug that will never come out. Yeah, it does. It makes a whistling sound. So once we figured that out, it became fun to set things
Oh,
on fire.
that's a whole new dimension to your play. You're like, "Look out, they're sending in the firestorm. They
Right.
they need humans to fuel their weapons."
Yeah, and I don't even know now the straws are made of biodegradable stuff and blah blah blah. But
Now they just explode.
that cheap polypropylene, whatever plastic it was, yeah, it was cool to set on fire.
I remember, becoming curious about just the stand that they were on and
Yes.
wanting that to not be there. So I every now and then I would clip them off and then
The
immediately
snowboard.
realize, yeah, I was like, why are they attached to a snowboard? Why can't they just run around? Not understanding at the time that it's because they literally can't. So once that was
No.
gone, once I removed those with scissors, then that just became the lame soldier because he was never going
Right.
to stand again. He'd been taken out of the game.
You don't have legs, Lieutenant Dan.
So
uh,
sorry, Dan.
but you know who took that same aesthetic, the same idea, and then upgraded it was Sergeant Rock
I
in
am
the
not familiar with
80s.
Sergeant Rock. I know you've talked about him before, but I was
Yeah.
I was not a
In
collector of that.
response to the GI Joe boom,
Mhm,
the super like diverse, high tech
mhm,
phenomenon that GI Joe was, Sergeant Rock jumped on. So their response was World War II aesthetic,
mhm.
low tech, but it worked. It was Remco did it. And like when you asked about vehicles for the little army soldiers, I feel like Sergeant Rock took what the army soldiers did and just made it better
Oh,
for
okay.
like for our generation. So
Mhm,
they had the articulation, they had the head, the shoulders, hips, knees, right?
mhm.
And they all came with almost the same gun, but they were all World War II looking weaponry. They had the bazooka, same sort of
Mhm.
thing. Um, but they had vehicles and they were simple. They had jeeps and a
Yeah.
tank and they had a little rubber raft, but they sold a lot of the same type of battle play sets that the
Mhm.
army men had with
Okay.
the sheet and then like a tower that was maybe 7 or 8 inches tall,
Mhm.
again with the plastic, just cheap plastic foxhole
Yeah.
with a machine gun that you could stick in a hole. And then they did the bad guys, which had the same look. It was basically the same molds, but they were painted, and they were literally called the bad guys. And I love that on the packaging, it had a snake,
Uh,
and they were the bad guys. And then on the packaging, it actually said, easily compatible with GI Joe, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Feel free, double your collection.
yeah, and Sergeant
Very
Rock, of
very
course,
smart.
was a comic book character from like I think his first appearance was in 1959 or something like
Mhm.
that. At least his look was.
Okay.
So in the 80s, I was a big fan of Sergeant Rock, and like I said before, there was um not a wall bounce in Center
Oh, wall
Riches,
ball.
and
Yeah.
that's where you could find all of the Remco stuff there. It was like the Remco depot.
Mhm.
And that's where you found Christar and the AWA wrestlers and
Yeah.
the the Warlord figures and the Conan figures. They were all there.
Mhm.
And whenever we got to go there, was the only time we got to go there is when, speaking of McDonald's, we had a family because that was the only McDonald's around at the time. So if
Mhm.
we had a treat to go to McDonald's, it was also Wall Bounce was part of that. And that's what Sergeant Franklin John Rock was was discovered by a
Quick
young Dana.
quick
And
as
I loved it.
quick aside, do you know if McDonald's ever gave military toys away in like their Happy Meals or anything? Was that ever something that they did? I can't.
I don't know. They did a small soldiers thing
Yeah, I
when
think
that
that may have been
movie
the
came
closest
out.
they came because I don't. From the
I
time that
know,
I'd been going to McDonald's, I don't recall them including any sort of military. Maybe they wanted to
right.
stay hands off with that.
Perhaps because I know that the army men aren't allowed in a lot of like early childhood centers and
Mhm.
schools because
Really?
which is you go both ways on this because
Mhm.
like our military men and women are brave people and
Mhm.
deserve to be celebrated, right? Um, and they're not necessarily advocates of violence. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're advocates of peace,
Yeah.
in a
Protecting
broader
the peace.
philosophical. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And boys will be boys. Like we've
Yes.
always had this when I remember when I was teaching and we'd be out on a playground and a boy would just pick up a stick. Like
Mhm.
that's what boys like there is such a thing as a
Yeah.
cool stick. Women will never understand this,
A stick
but
could be anything.
there is such a thing as a cool stick. And boys will just pick it up and walk with it like, oh,
Mhm.
that's a cool stick. I'm just and just walk and talk with a stick, and maybe you'll whack at a dandelion or whatever, and
Mhm.
teachers will start yelling, put down the stick, like suddenly he's going to turn into the stick sword wielding maniac. And I'm like, he's just holding the stick, just let
Tra-
him be. It's
Tragedy struck
okay.
today as the stick stabber struck again.
Like the stick is a conduit of evil and will make anyone so like
Five
you
children
and
came
I.
home with bruised shins. It was just awful.
And I think I find it funny that way we grew up with pure violence on TV, in cartoons, and comics all the time. And the people who are doing horrible things and to kids and schools and whatnot aren't people from our generation. It's the generation that was not allowed to have sticks and watch Yosemite Sam shoot a gun in the air.
All I,
So
all I
that's
know
my
is
statement for today.
no one that I know of dropped an Acme safe on anyone's head.
I wanted to though. So, but those things are hard to come by. Um,
so let's scale it. Let's scale it
yeah,
back to military
yes.
toys. There
So,
is a company that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to move on to my next because
Oh.
Sergeant Rock brings me to like M Force, which was
Mhm.
not a big um toy line for a lot of people,
Mhm.
but they were cool. Are you familiar with M Force? Military muscle.
No, no,
No,
I am not.
they had some cool figures. They came out as a direct response to Rambo and the
Mhm.
Force of Freedom, which was also Remco. That cartoon came out in 86-ish.
Yeah.
The Rambo and the Force of Freedom.
Mhm.
And they made those like weird looking Rambo giraffe figures, but
Yes.
they were cool. Like, all right, definitely want to talk about Rambo figures. But in
Now,
response to that, go ahead.
I was like, now, would Rambo be considered a military figure,
In the eyes of
or
the
is he,
cartoon,
or is he more of
yes.
a, or is he more of a mercenary? Because I know
Hmm.
eventually you start kind of like delineating where you have just your straight military forces. Like you got
Right.
your Green Army men, you've got your vehicles, whatever. But then you've got, I mean, say like the A Team, you've got these specialists or these outcasts who have military training, but go off and do their own thing. So, like, if there's an A Team line, would those fall under military?
Mm,
toys because technically they've got training, but I guess maybe they'd be more mercenary. Like
right.
Deadpool's not a military toy, but he is the one
It's
with a mouth.
Canadian
He's
military. Come on.
that's as violent as they get. Major Moose from the Ninja
He's
Turtles
even
line.
dressed in red like a Mountie.
Major Moose from the Ninja Turtles line. Full Canadian military toy.
All he wants to do is chase moose and squirrel. Um, I don't know, but like in the Force of Freedom,
Mhm,
the cartoon,
mhm.
wasn't he a direct like military? Because Colonel Troutman was still in charge, right?
I think so. I believe so. I'm not 100%.
But those figures were cool, and they gave you the bad guys, which was neat, and you got all the different characters other than Rambo, and I liked the scale.
Yeah.
There was a cool scale. I liked it. I mean, they were a little weird looking in regards to their, skinny hips and
Mhm.
rather kind of broad shoulders. They all had a good swimmer's build, is really what it comes
very
down to.
very lean, very starved from
Yeah, but
being in the
before
military, from
then,
being in terrible battles
we
for a
didn't
long
have
time.
any Rambo toys,
Yeah.
and they were cool, and they had all the stereotypical bad guys. They wore turbans, they wore eye patches,
Yep.
they
Look,
covered the whole gambit.
just like wrestling, your biggest heel is your foreigner. So just like the episode of Futurama where they're like, "It's the foreigner," and he's like, "I'm not from here," and everyone goes,
Just
"Boo!
like in wrestling, and
Look at my crazy
boy, I'm feeling
passport."
political today. I almost had to end your
It's
voting booths in 2024,
all
but
that fun. So I liked in the '80s that we had both the just your standard military toys with the Green Army Men and GI
yeah,
Joe, and whatnot. But I liked when companies started saying to themselves, "Well, what if the military but wacky?" So do you remember Army Ants?
oh yes,
Where
yes,
they
yes, those are
were,
cool.
yeah, they were the red and the blue ones, and they
Hmm.
each they had, I guess their gimmick was that the abdomen was detachable. It was a little like squishy abdomen you
Right,
could pull. I don't remember why. I
like
don't remember
mine.
why you could do that. Yeah, you just. I wish that my abdominal area was detachable. That
It's
would help a
squishy.
lot. Yeah, but I remember those being really cool. And the commercials for them was when is it when not when the Seats when the troops go marching home. I
But
apologize for anyone who knows the song, and I'm not
when
doing it
the
justice,
Saints
but
come marching in, was that it?
I think so. But they swapped it out with Army Ants.
Oh
And
yeah,
at the
yeah,
end
yeah,
was Army Ants we go marching along,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the whole point of it was collect all. I don't remember exactly how many there were. There was a lot, probably 60 something of each kind, and
There were a lot, yeah.
yeah, and different functions, different guns, different. Like one had the eye patch, uh, and I liked that later on you got glow in the dark
Of course,
Army Ant
of course.
characters, which were,
Anthropomorphic, glow in the dark.
yep.
Check, check. Tom
And I
wanted them.
and I think at some point they appeared in I don't remember if it was IDW or if it was when Dreamwave still had the license. Army Ants appear in a GI Joe crossover comic where like they're inside
Oh,
Unicron looking
that's
for
cool.
something, and one of his like biological defenses is
That's
the
awesome.
Army Ants. It's like that's super cool. Uh, Food
That's awesome.
Fighters. I don't remember if you remember Food Fighters.
Food fighters, yeah.
More like kind of
I
military
have one around here
style,
somewhere. Mhm.
like a wacky fun. Uh,
Food fighters were cool out of nowhere. Like, what the heck?
what
Why?
if
Who
what
did
if we
this?
what if we put arms and legs on a burger?
And they had cool guns. And they were sized to fit with the GI Joe guys.
Yup,
Food
decent.
fighters is one of my favorite lines ever. They're so ridiculous.
wasn't
There has to be a pharmaceutical explanation for that, but it was outstanding.
wasn't their vehicle like an egg carton? Oh, that
Yes.
was that was a lot. There is a I don't remember if it's DNA. But someone is creating like new, not they're not calling it Food Fighters, and but there are like kind of food products in this line along with
Mhm.
other like a stapler and some other
Right.
kind of like office style things. But people do remember, and they are kind of trying to bring them back, which is nice to see
Right.
because that's
When we had them as kids, my younger brother, I feel like, was the inspiration for the MCU Groot, because he had the food fighters and all they could say was their food item. So they'd be walking around like hot dog, like, and then donut and chicken leg and all that.
oh,
But that's
your
all they could say was donut
your
with
early
different
Groot
inflections.
Pokemon characters.
Yeah, yeah, it was fantastic. And I love when we got military figures that were, we got a lot of fantasy ones, like the Starship Trooper
Yes.
figures
Oh my lord,
and
I'm
the
doing my
Space
part.
Marines from Aliens. Yeah.
I am still kind of surprised we haven't gotten more of those from NECA. They've put out a decent amount.
Yep.
But you kind of figure even if they were just kind of faceless Marines, because you did have those background characters that were just sent in to be wiped out by the aliens, and that I feel like just on something easy to mass produce.
Can I just say
Generic
caffeinated
Space
water
Marine.
does not taste good? Okay.
Oh,
All
that's
right, go on.
unfortunate. Michael Bublé would be so sad in his
That's
carbonated namesake.
Yeah. Woo,
Um,
it's rough.
but yeah, like I feel like that would be a cool line to put out where it's just, hey, we're not doing Ripley per se. Like maybe she shows up in the line later, but here are Space Marines and here are aliens, and there you go. Make them
Right.
like 4 inches or whatever, and just have at it. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to rewind back real quick to the Green Army Men. And I've probably mentioned this before. I've always wanted to see a line, and I think one actually does exist, but I wasn't able to find it the last time that I looked, of articulated, maybe like 3 or 4 inch Green Army Men, just for
They're
the
bigger.
fun of it.
There is a line. They're bigger. Remember, I almost bought the female one at Retro Relics, shameless plug,
Oh
a couple
yeah,
of months ago. Yeah, they were. Were they just called Army Men? They may have
they
been.
may have just
And
been
then
called Army Men.
Fortnite did the
Yeah, Fortnite
7-inch.
has.
Yeah.
But it's weird because they're still like Jazzwares is still making their 4 inch line, and they're
Mhm.
I maintain that is one of the best 4 inch toy lines to ever come into existence. But like no Army Man, which is
Nope.
strange because
It's a great figure.
you ship a case of 5 Green Army Men by themselves, and I guarantee people are just gonna wipe them out just because, like, oh my god, Army Men, I need all of them.
Yeah, I feel like they said that there were some from the Toy Story movie. They had a couple of the toys. I don't know how articulated they were, but they did have some.
So it's question time because we're coming down to the wire.
This
What
went
would be-
fast. This went really quickly.
What would be your ideal military toy line?
I feel like I already got it in G.I. Joe, but you know, I I don't know. It would be something similar to like
Mhm.
G.I. Joe. I'd want them bigger. I would love to see I don't know. You know who went after it was Fox Toys. Like that, it's
Mhm.
that the sort of fantasy sci-fi um military line that's ready for anything. Like I want to see, and even like the Godzilla Force, remember them? They had
Oh
that
yeah,
like that
G-Force. Yep.
armor. Like I want to see the line of men that are
Mhm.
trained and equipped to go fight a kaiju, not in a tech, but like just to hold the line until the tech gets there. Like
Yeah.
I want to see something like that. That's sort of
That's a cool idea
sci-fi kind of, yeah.
because they introduced something similar to that in Final Wars, where it was just a group of trained individuals who, by themselves, went out and fought kaiju.
Right.
That's a good idea.
How about you?
I will
Don't
not
cheat.
All right, I won't cheat. I promise not to cheat this time. I'm going to stay within the parameters of my own question. So I would love to see a Transformers or Transformers style toy line where the main villain is someone like Bruticus. Like get the Combaticons who are supposed to be like your military experts. Set it up where they've taken over a planet or they've taken over a section of Cybertron and they control it with an iron fist, and you need to send in military specialists to remove them or to fight them. And I think that would be awesome. Yeah, like make it Bruticus, have like a new set of Combaticons, use the power core combiners or like revamp those for that. And then have your opposing side be General Prime. And then bring in his own special military forces, like something that's much more of a strategy military style story. I guess we already had something similar to that in Machine Wars, but I would like to see, take another swing at it and see what you can come up with. So that's my thing. So thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys. If you'd like to get a hold of us and join in on a conversation, you can find us on Twitter. Our handle is Two Guys Talking Toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. Same thing for Gmail, and surprise, surprise, Instagram is now live, and that is 2G Talking Toys, because our original handle just didn't work out. But get a hold of us on Instagram now. That's 2G Talking Toys. Take care, everybody.